We continue our coverage of the devastating fire in Cape Town. Strong winds are making it difficult for firefighters to get the blaze under control. The fire, which broke out at the Rhodes Memorial, has been spreading towards the University of Cape Town and the M3. The Rhodes Memorial restaurant and iconic Mostert Mill have been destroyed. UCT students have been evacuated. Our reporter Lindsay Dentlinger is covering this developing story for us at UCT's upper campus. Lindsay, now that you've been able to move closer to UCT's campus, what can you tell us about the state of the fire and damages on the campus?
And Lee, as you've just said, I'm on upper campus. You can hear 3 helicopters above me trying to douse the flames. I'm going to let Mario Pedro show you how they are water bombing these old buildings belonging to this campus. The Fuller building is what we understand is now burning alongside the iconic Jamison steps of this campus. Understand that the damage to the library now quite extensive. We should remember the rare collections that are housed in that building, rare reads that are not even allowed to leave the building, and if they haven't now already totally been destroyed by the fire, certainly the water damage would probably have destroyed most of what's contained in that building. And so this is where rescue efforts, firefighting efforts are contained for the moment. As I said, 3 helicopters which make up the vast contingent and a spotter plane of the firefighting efforts in Cape Town today, now all concentrated here on UCT's upper campus. There are a few people milling about, but mostly law enforcement trying to keep people away, and of course photographers. I've moved from the middle campus a little bit earlier, coming up here on foot, and there is some damage sustained there as well, but I couldn't immediately see how extensive that is. But for now, as I say, the concentration is here on upper campus. I'm standing on the rugby, on the sports field that many people would know and avid runners would know. This is where the Two Oceans Marathon usually ends, just here at the foot of this campus, known the world over for these beautiful buildings, and how much of it now has been destroyed, unknown. Only what we can see with the naked eye, but most of it quite difficult to ascertain the extent of the damage given the smoke and of course now the sun going down behind the mountain on UCT's upper campus.
Lindsay, can you tell us what types of buildings are situated on upper campus? Obviously, the library is there. The buildings that we see in the picture behind you, are those residences? Are they classrooms? What kind of facilities are in immediate damage on upper campus? Immediate danger, excuse me.
Andy, I couldn't immediately tell you in extensive detail. This is not my alma mater, I'm afraid, and so I don't know all these buildings, the great extent to them. My understanding is that there aren't residences here, but all students that were on campus should by now have been evacuated. We've been seeing buses ferrying students off, but as I said, the iconic Jamison Hall above me, you probably can't see it now amidst the smoke. But these would largely be lecture war halls, laboratories, and the like, and of course the sports centre. As I said, to my left, I am currently standing on the sports field. So those are some of the buildings that I know of on this campus, but I couldn't give you at this stage too much detail other than, as I say, the Fuller building and the library, which is currently firefighters are trying to bring the blaze under control in those buildings.
Lindsay, based on the statements released by UCT, do we know how many students have been evacuated and where they are likely to be taken?
Only I haven't been able to check up on where they're going. As I said, many of them we saw through the course of the afternoon be evacuated from residences lower down from where I'm standing at this time, and in what's known here colloquially as the jammy shuttles that ferry the students back and forth between the campuses. There have been calls on social media as well asking for people who have space available in their homes to take in some of the students. So not 100% clear exactly exactly how many have been asked to leave their residences and exactly where they've gone to at this time.
Do we have any updates from Groote Schuur? We saw some media correspondence a little bit earlier saying that the hospital is on standby to evacuate, but they remain safe for now. Hospital management has apparently already consulted with other facilities for bed space and assistance should the need arise. I know you've moved from that location. Have you been able to get any updates from firefighters perhaps on the M3 about whether the fire that was growing on the embankment is under control for the moment?
Only by the time I left there, which was probably about half an hour ago, the blaze had not gotten too much out of control, just lots of smoke. And as you say, Groote Schuur authorities remain on high alert, but it doesn't appear that by the time I left that area that the fire was anywhere close to threatening the hospital complex, which was lower down across the road from the Table Mountain National Park, where the fire's been burning for most of the day. So assuming that we're seeing all the majority of the firefighting efforts deployed in Cape Town today here on this campus, one could presume for now that the hospital is fairly safe and that concentrations would all be what we are seeing on this side of the M3 and this side of the city.
Right, we're going across to Ronald Masinda, who is also monitoring the fire in Cape Town. Ronald, what can you tell us about the number of firefighters deployed to try and bring this blaze under control? And perhaps if you could also give us a sense of the amount of firefighters in reserve to continue this fight. We had heard from JP Smith earlier that this is likely to be a long-haul fight, meaning that efforts to bring the fire under control will continue into the night. Do we have people on reserve? I can only imagine that firefighters must be exhausted by now.
And they really are, Annelie, because when we started the day, when this fire was first reported at around 9:45 this morning, we heard that around 60 firefighters were deployed, especially around the Rhodes Memorial area. That number grew by 150, so 150 firefighters in total have been trying to contain this blaze. We are at one of the scenes that have been totally gutted by this fire, area called the Mule. We are seeing firefighters still working around the clock. I must say, though, that they are running out of time, given that the light is becoming increasingly darker. So there's no knowing whether they will continue their efforts throughout the course of the night. But having spoken to the MACO member for safety and security, JP Smith, earlier, he also mentioned that there's 2 firefighters who have been admitted to hospital after suffering burn wounds. So even them, they are also putting their lives at risk to ensure that this fire does not destroy many parts of Cape Town. We've seen it, especially here earlier on. This building has been totally destroyed by the fire. We saw firefighters struggling to put out the blaze. We are seeing quite a lot of people also just behind this building and now looking at the aftermath of this devastating fire. And this fire, this area where we are, it's not too far from Tenace. We also heard a report that there was a fire at Tenace, but we were not allowed in there. But the security of one of the ministers, Thulas Nxesi, told us that there was fire, and the concerns were that some of the state vehicles might also be caught in the blaze. But as you can see in the background, total devastation, a building beyond repair. We're still seeing a lot of smoke around this building, and a lot of people have been evacuated from this area. A lot of them, we don't know where they went to, but having spoken to students earlier on, some of the students didn't know where they were actually going to because they didn't get a lot of information in terms of the accommodation that they're receiving. We are still seeing quite a lot of helicopters flying around trying to throw those water bombs. And even when you walk, you think it is raining in Cape Town, but you just feel the water hit on your head. That's because the helicopters have been flying around for hours on end trying to extinguish the fire. We know the fire is quite bad on the other side of Cape Town, just behind UCT. That is an area where we have not been allowed, but we're just going to try and walk in just to give the viewers a sense of the work that the firefighters have been performing. We are told that it is also quite hot here on this ground, so we will stop here. But just to give the viewers a sense of just the devastating impact this fire has had. And okay, we also been warned not to go any further because it is quite dangerous. We don't have any hard hats and that sort of thing. But as you can see, I mean, this was probably a room, and look at the fire, look at the devastation to this building. I mean, it's totally devastating. And one can only imagine the pain a owner who owns such a property could go through, given the extent of this devastating fire. But coming to the J.P. Smith interview, you also made mention that, you know, the positive about this fire is that not a single life has been lost. And one of the issues that they will look into, they are led to believe that this fire can only be caused by a human being, and that investigations will be underway to see as to who could have been behind this fire. We know that Table Mountain is quite a popular area where many people hike, many people. We also are told that some people actually live on Table Mountain, people like Rastafarians, for example. So we are possibly sooner to hearing just some of the details as to what kind of investigations will be taking place. But at least not a loss of life for now. But we also know that a lot of firefighters have also been issued with kits, food, and also health kits at one of the sites, a fire station, not too far from where we are at the moment. But as you can see, rescue efforts still continuing. People really putting in the hard yards, trying to ensure that you know, this fire is curbed for now. But J.P. Smith saying that there will be a lot more effort going into the firefighting possibly tomorrow, and that a lot of people could be affected. We know that traffic was brought to a standstill in many parts of Cape Town leading into the CBD. But at the moment, things seem to be calm at this stage here. But we are curious as to what is going on elsewhere where we've not been allowed as a media to enter, given that a lot of the fire is still widespread across Table Mountain.
Thank you very much to both our reporters in Cape Town, Ronald Masinda and Lindsay Dentlinger, bringing us on the scene updates of that ongoing fire. And we'll continue to bring you the latest here on eNCA.